I just wanted to just share a few things, which I hope, in the spirit of how Mike has sort of set it off, might encourage one or two others to sort of follow on, really. And it's just from, I'm reading through the book of Genesis, and I'm reading what I consider to be an excellent commentary on it. And this is something that struck me this week that's very relevant to what the Lord has kind of set us off thinking about and sharing on. So it comes from, I'll just read 2 or 3 verses from Genesis 22. It's a very well-known passage. It's Abraham being asked of God to take his son off as a sacrifice. And I have to say to you, I do struggle with this idea. Do you struggle too? With this idea that God would ask Abraham to take his son to be sacrificed. For obvious reasons. But anyway, let's read it. So starting at verse 1. Now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham. And he said, here I am. Just a quick aside. I'm interested in the fact that quite often God calls somebody in the Bible, doesn't he? And he says Rupert or Mike or whomever. And then the response is, here I am, isn't it? It's quite often. Samuel says, here I am. He says it 3 times, doesn't he? Which I think tells us, it's like, I'm here. Tell me, what do you want me to hear and what do you want me to do? And God said, take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, which I believe is the same place as Calvary, X hundred years later, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you. And the thing that I want to just mention, and I got this all out of this commentary, so it's not, it's inspired through this commentator. I thought, gosh, that's incredible. I'd never noticed this. So the first thing that I wanted to point out was this thing where it says, take now your only son whom you love. I hadn't actually registered in this verse before this week, whom you love. And that is actually the first time that the word love, I don't know what the Hebrew word is, but this word first appears in this passage, which is interesting because we've had 22 chapters, but this particular word love is first mentioned here. And there's this principle of the law of the first mention, that when you find something first mentioned, it kind of grounds that word and its meaning. And from then on, in the Bible, that kind of gives us a starting point, a foundational point. And it's interesting because we've had Adam marry Eve. So we've had the marriage of a man and a woman. But we haven't used this word yet. It doesn't mean that they didn't love one another, but we haven't had this. But this is the first time that this word is mentioned. And so it's interesting. It was more than interesting, isn't it? It's absolutely foundational that the first time the word love is used is in the context of a father's love for his only begotten son. And it's interesting because Janet just read, didn't you, from 1 John 4 verse 10. In this is love. Have I got the right verse? Let's hope I have. No, sorry, verse 9. In this the love of God was manifested towards us. This is 1 John 4 verse 9, as read a few minutes ago. That God has sent his only begotten Son into the world. Same principle. Only begotten Son, love. And what this commentator pointed out was that it's beyond coincidence. It's inspired of God that the writers of the New Testament, of the Gospels, so the first time that love appears in the book of Matthew is Matthew 3:16. When, so this is the baptism of Jesus, which you'll all know. When he had been baptized, Jesus came up immediately from the water, and behold, the heavens were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting upon him. And suddenly a voice came from heaven saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." This is my beloved Son, the Son whom I love, in whom I'm well pleased. Same thing happens in Mark. Same thing happens in Luke. First time that we get this word love is in the context of the Father loving his only begotten Son. And then in the book of John, and we're obviously the letter that Janet read was John's, the same John. John, the most famous verse of all verses. The trouble is, you've heard it. I've heard it so many times. I find it difficult sometimes to kind of ponder on what is it actually telling me. It's become a bit too sort of well known. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Why? That whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So that's all I really wanted to share, just because, well, A, I was pondering on it this week, and B, it just ties in with what we've discussed, this whole thing of it all starts not with a mushy love of a young man for a woman and vice versa. Not that that thing doesn't exist, it does. I've been there. I'm still there. So my wife is at the back. I'm just a bit older now, that's all. But that follows through. And so it starts with the love of God for his Son, and then intriguingly, Abraham receives his promise. Abraham needs to do, God asks of him a whole set of things, and probably we could sum it up most importantly, that he listens and heeds. That's what he wants. And he sets in this test. It's not a test I would have set, but God did in his infinite wisdom. And Abraham is prepared to go through it, I believe, because he believes in faith that God will provide a way out. And of course, we need a way out. And so from that flows God first loves the Son, and the Son is obedient, and from that flows the Son's and God's love to us. And as we've read in other passages, our love, and in fact in that song that we've just sung, or the previous passage, we need to, no, it was in the 1 John passage, we need to love others. So it flows. It's from the Father to the Son to us. We become sons and daughters of God, and that love then needs to flow from us to others. But it all starts with this Father, the God-Father, God-Son relationship. So that's what I wanted to say. It's not, and I hope, and others can